some rain going on from Friday into Saturday, but we got the Phillies to talk about today, plus NFL offseason. We are counting down as well to the start of training camp here on 97.3 ESPN. As always, you guys can join the conversation at 609 403 0973. Your DMs into 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press joins me coming up in less than 20 minutes to get more into the latest with the NFL. As listen, you know that we're starting to get closer to football season when we're having guys like Rob Maaddi and Andy McNamara and all those guys start filing in to the conversation, because that's when you really know it's football season. So we'll get to that more this hour, but I want to start with the Phillies because as they're getting ready to first pitch coming up here in just moments, we are just moments away from first pitch at the Phillies game. It's something to think about where they've already won this series, right? They already got the win of the series. They've already won at least 2 out of 3. And we asked the question earlier today on 97.3 ESPN on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill about the Phillies have reached 60 wins in 92 games. It's the second fastest in Phillies history to reach 60 wins. The only team that did it faster was the 1976 Phillies that won 101 games. The Phillies have not lost at home a series in 14 straight. Yes, 14 straight series at home they have won. Are we starting to get into is this going to go down as one of the best Phillies teams of all time? I mean, if they win the World Series, obviously, but do we need to start having that conversation now? Because I would argue the most beloved and most famous Phillies team for the majority of Philly fans who are, I would say, over the age of 30? It's the 93 Phillies. That team got to the World Series, but they didn't win it. So for a lot of people, and I know a lot of those people personally, that 93 team was loved almost more and appreciated more than the 2008 and 1980 teams. You could argue the 2009 team, the 2011 team, they were way better overall teams than 2008. You could argue the 76 and 77 teams were as good, if not better, than the 1980 Phillies team. As I said, winning a championship does not always make you the best team for a franchise. So, my question for you guys out there is, are we giving this team the credit they deserve? Are we giving them their roses? Are we appreciating them enough? Are we giving enough of our love, our passion for this Phillies team? Because I got to tell you guys, I feel like when I go out, right, and I run into people and then we talk about sports, there was so much conversation about the Sixers heading into and then the first few days coming out of the offseason starting. There is always going to be conversation about the Eagles year round. It's just, they're the Eagles. They are the heartbeat of the sports fan base. But ultimately, are we looking at the Phillies and giving them the respect, the admiration, and the love that they deserve? Now, I think there is a segment of the fan base that does, because almost every night the Phillies have, if not a sold-out crowd, a close to sellout crowd every single night. And Philly fans are coming out to the ball game. It's not like it was a few years ago where you were questioning if this Phillies team, do the fans care? You don't have that conversation anymore. The Phillies are averaging almost 41,000 fans a game for a stadium that only really holds about 42,000. So they're pretty much near capacity at this point. The only teams that average more fans per game than the Phillies are the Yankees and the team that you're playing, the Dodgers. And the Dodgers play in a bigger stadium. The Dodgers play in a ballpark that has more people in it. And this is not the first time the Phillies have had big crowds. Last year was 38,000 was the average. This year's almost 41,000. So it's not like people are not showing up to the games. The fans are showing the Phillies players how much they love this team, how passionate they are about this team. But I feel like in everyday conversation, are we appreciating this team enough? Or is there a part of the fan base out there that says, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop? Are you looking at the Phillies in some ways the way that you look at the 76ers, right? Because when you are doing, when you are reaching accomplishments that haven't been done in 30, 40, 50 years for this franchise, they're the first team to 60 wins in all of Major League Baseball. This team, in almost every single metric, is putting themselves in a different category than any other Phillies team in franchise history. You guys let me know how you feel. 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. The other thing is, Kyle Schwarber hit a leadoff homer last night. The Phillies are now 22-4 when Schwarber hits a leadoff homer. You know, when Schwarber was returned to the leadoff spot on June 2nd last year, the Phillies went 63-41. They are overall in the last 3 years winning over 60% of their games when Kyle Schwarber is the leadoff hitter. It's another guy I don't know if we give enough appreciation for, because I get it. For the baseball traditionalists, the get off my lawners, who are the baseball quote unquote purists, right? You don't look at Schwarber and fully appreciate him because he's not Ricky Henderson, Kenny Lofton, Vince Coleman, Juan Pierre type of leadoff hitter. He is not a singles and doubles, steal a base, and score runs type of leadoff hitter. But I got to tell you guys, I think that we are not understanding sometimes that Kyle Schwarber is just as much of a value to this team winning as anybody else is. You know, Kyle Schwarber leads the National League in walks this year. He has increased his batting average by 60 points from last year. He increased his on-base percentage by 30 points from last year. And he was already one of the higher guys when it came to walks and on base. And I know for some of you out there, no matter what I say, no matter what Kyle Schwarber does, he could save your animal from a burning house fire, right? He could protect your child from a terrorist, and you would still be mad at Kyle Schwarber because he's the leadoff hitter. Because I get it. Some of the Philly fans out there are just irrational, and you can't reason with them in any sense. But man, this guy has turned into arguably one of the most important players for this team during his 3 years in Philadelphia. Every year he's been in Philadelphia, he's been top 5 in walks. Every year in Philadelphia, he has been top 10 in runs created. And every year in Philadelphia, him being leadoff hitter has led to wins. And by the way, if scoring runs was always supposed to be the priority, the leadoff hitter, Kyle Schwarber, 2022, 6th in the National League. 2023, 7th in the National League. 2024, second in the National League. So he is scoring runs. He's getting on base. He's helping you create runs. He's taking walks. He's making the other team's pitcher work. This might just be the new breed of leadoff hitter. The Orioles have a similar guy in Gunnar Henderson. Gunnar Henderson is a massive power hitter as well. But you know what he does? He doesn't really steal a ton of bases. He doesn't go out there and dominate the base paths, or, he's a little more like Schwarber. He's the guy who goes out there and hits bombs. Guy's got 27 homers this year. He leads the American League in runs scored, by the way. But not a traditional leadoff hitter. The guy has 1 stolen base this year. Do you know Kyle Schwarber has more stolen bases in the last 2 years than Gunnar Henderson has? And Gunnar Henderson is almost 10 years younger than him. But this is the way baseball is going. I just think that I'm watching the Phillies and I'm watching Schwarber and I'm watching these guys win. If the goal is to win, if the priority is winning, then why are you guys, some of you people out there, such negative people and can't appreciate this team? Because you know what I say? You're ruining the fun for the rest of us. Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Coming up on the other side, we'll get into the NFL conversation. Lane Johnson has some interesting comments about Kellen Moore and the Eagles offense. We'll get to that and more with Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press joins me coming up next on 97.3. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a Thursday night.
Saturday on ESPN Radio. It's a Major League Baseball doubleheader. First at Camden Yards, the Baltimore Orioles face the New York Yankees.
Another great play from Aaron Judge, doing it all here tonight.
Then in San Diego, the Padres welcome the Atlanta Braves. Coverage of the Orioles and Yankees begins Saturday at 3:30 Eastern, followed by the Braves and Padres on ESPN Radio.
Listen to Major League Baseball all season on 97.3 ESPN.
New Jersey's got a lot of summer wow, from sun and wows to fun and wows, and every wow in between. Find your wow at visitnj.org. New Jersey, little state, lot of wow.
The wait is over. Dell Technologies Black Friday and July deals are live. Check out incredible savings on select laptops and more, like the XPS 15, powered by Intel Core processors. The XPS 15 brings you the perfect balance of power and portability, plus stellar visuals and immersive sound. When you shop online at Dell.com/deals, you'll have access to exceptional tech and electronics, plus free shipping on everything. Don't miss out on Black Friday and July savings at Dell.com/deals. That's Dell.com/deals.
Timmy, everybody. Great job. Next up for our 5th grade class recital, we have Samantha.
10 times better performance can make a big difference. Castrol Edge Motor Oil gives your engine 10 times better high-stress performance. Castrol Edge, better oil for maximum performance. Now through December 28th, Castrol Edge and Edge High Mileage Motor Oil are on rollback at Walmart.
Claim based on sequence 9 test under high-load conditions versus API SP test limits.
Raid wants to know, what would you do if you could confidently face every day knowing you and your loved ones are protected? Would you sing along to your favorite song at the top of your lungs? Turn off the GPS and let your heart do the guiding? Go to the drive-thru and order one of everything? Feel the buzz of confidence of knowing you are protected with 65 years of insect science in your hands. Raid. Protection for everyone.
Sometimes your phone breaks.
Ugh.
Dude.
What the?
Oh, seriously? Hey, life happens. But at Verizon, we got you. Trade in any phone from our top brands in any condition and get a great deal on iPhone 15 with an unlimited Ultimate plan. And turn...
No!
Into... Oh, yeah! Only on Verizon.
Hi, I'm Cesar Milan. People are always commenting on how happy and healthy my dogs are. One of the reasons is the food my dogs eat.
Dr. Maaddi's Nature's Blend is a premium freeze-dried raw dog food designed to support your dog's health, happiness, and lifespan.
Their joints are more flexible, their teeth are cleaner, and their coats shinier. And why they seem more youthful even as they age.
I'm veterinarian Dr. Marty Goldstein. I've helped countless dogs thrive with one simple concept. Your dog needs a high-meat diet similar to what their ancestors ate in the wild.
Dr. Maaddi created Nature's Blend using 50 years of nutritional research and experience, helping dogs make incredible turnarounds. Save up to 54% off Nature's Blend and get a free bag of Cod Krispies. They're wild-caught, ultra-crunchy cod skin treats. Go to drmartypets.com/deal or text DEAL to 511-511.
Your order is backed with a 90-day guarantee.
All dogs are unique. Your dog results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply.
This radio commercial was made to convince you to stop speeding. We can't use siren sound effects on the radio, so we'll use other equally jarring sound effects to get your attention, like telling you that whether you drive a little over the speed limit or a lot, you can crash just the same. You could hurt yourself or worse, others.
I'm at the scene of the collision.
And the damage you cause will be beyond repair. See, we didn't have to use crash or siren sounds after all. Speeding catches up with you. Brought to you by NHTSA.
Powered by the all-new BetParks New Jersey Casino and Sportsbook app. BetParks.com. This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
The Phillies are well represented at the All-Star Game, including the Home Run Derby. I'm Nick Earnshaw, your South Jersey Sports Center, and with your 97.3 ESPN question of the day. With Alec Boehm being the first Phillies player since Kyle Schwarber back in 2022 to participate in the Home Run Derby and being a big underdog, do you believe Alec Boehm can win it? Let us know by texting 609-403-0973 or use the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. I think anyone can win the Home Run Derby. I mean, that's why you have the contestants. I know Alec Boehm is more of a doubles guy. You know, people give him a little bit of flack for not being a total power guy, but I think anyone can win it. I absolutely think Alec Boehm could win the Home Run Derby. Do I think it's likely? That remains to be seen. Once again, text it at 609-403-0973. Do you believe Alec Boehm can win the Home Run Derby? Your forecast is next.
There's an issue cutting through the bipartisan bickering in Congress. It's AM radio. The overwhelming majority of legislators, Democrats and Republicans, support a bill to keep AM radio in cars. But time is running out. Text AM to 52886 and ask Congress to bring this bill to the floor for a vote now. AM radio is too important to let this moment pass us by.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Over an inch of rain possible tomorrow night, and Saturday morning. Some models even pumping out 2 or even 3 inches of total rainfall. A good soak, a welcome cool down, although temporary. Increasing clouds tonight. Showers may creep in after midnight, low 73. Pockets of rain tomorrow, heavy at times, mostly cloudy. High comes down to 82. Rain and thunderstorms may linger through Saturday morning as well. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
From playtime to showtime, Atlantic City always serves classic summer fun with a twist of cool. Visit AtlanticCityNJ.com to win an overnight getaway.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
We'll check back on the text board in just a bit at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Don't forget, Game Night being brought to you by Boxing Insider Promotions event coming up on Friday, July 26th. The boxing event of the summer season is at Tropicana Showroom in Atlantic City, where undefeated junior middleweight Justin Figueroa of Atlantic City is back in action, along with Absegami High School graduate Bruce Selden Jr. and heavyweight contender Otto Wallen are all a part of the stacked card that will be at Tropicana Atlantic City Showroom on Friday, July 26th. Get your tickets now at Ticketmaster.com for the boxing event of the summer, and be sure to join 97.3 ESPN when you come out and watch the fights with us. Again, Friday, July 26th, Tropicana Atlantic City Showroom. Boxing Insider Promotions presents the boxing event of the summer. Speaking of the summer, we are counting down the days, to training camp. And no matter how much the Phillies are first team to 60 wins, no matter how much the Sixers try to steal the headlines, this is Birds country. Let's be realistic. And to talk more about football is Rob Maaddi, who knows that as well as anybody from the Associated Press, joining us here on 97.3 ESPN. Rob, welcome back from your time off, getting some recharge of the battery. How you doing, my friend?
What's going on, Josh? It is football country, right? Eagles country, even though the Phillies are first team to 60 and everything else, but football is has always been king in Philly, and it's right around the corner, man.
So I wanted to start with this because, a lot of people have questions after last year's Eagle season, and even the players have said, like guys like Fletcher Cox and others, they've been like, I don't even know what happened. I don't know what went wrong, right? And, some guys like Brandon Graham and others have pointed to the coaching staff, right? Well, Lane Johnson tried to take a positive spin on things and talk about what they have now, which is Kellen Moore, in a recent interview. And he talked about how Kellen Moore is an up-tempo kind of offense, how he was efficient in Dallas, and how he's looking forward to the offense being better this year. So, Rob, for the audience, what is a realistic expectation of the Eagles and their new offensive coordinator?
Well, I think it's certainly an upgrade from the kind of dysfunctional lack of identity offense that they had last year under Brian Johnson. And I feel like he gets too much of the blame. I think a lot of people were involved in the collapse of that Eagles, of the team and the offense. And he was just the one, the OC was just the one to kind of fall on the sword. But Kellen Moore comes in with different ideas, different philosophies. And last year, he didn't have much success in LA with the Chargers. Justin Herbert was injured. I think he missed 4 or 5 games, Josh, but they had no running game. They didn't have a ton of talent around him. In Dallas, when you look at the teams that he had, the offenses that he had in Dallas, he had 2 out of 4 years as the offensive coordinator in Dallas. The Cowboys were the number 1 team in yards, in yards total offense. 3 of those 4 years he was there, they were top 6 in points. And the year they weren't was that year, remember, when Dak got hurt 4 or 5 games into, I think it was the pandemic season. So Kellen Moore's had some success as an offensive coordinator, and he comes in the Philly where Nick Sirianni is giving him, as of right now, right, he's giving him the reins, the control of the offense. And I think he does some things differently, and he does some things that kind of were a criticism of this offensive philosophy under the past 2-3 seasons. You didn't see a lot of play action, a lot of motion. Well, that's what Kellen Moore offenses are all about. He's got a little bit of Shanahan-istic type run plays. He does a lot of running from under center, which I'm interested to see because the Eagles didn't run a lot of under center. They were shotgun. They ran the ball out of shotgun. Jalen Hurts is a weapon when they're running the ball out of shotgun too as well. So Kellen Moore in Dallas, not Kellen Moore last year when he had no run game and had a terrible Chargers team, in Dallas was a run-oriented, smash-mouth type football offense, and Dak had some of his best seasons with him too as well. But you get to see some of the things that we've been asking for in Philly, some of that, the motions and the play action. I don't know what the numbers were. Like the Eagles were probably last in motion, somewhere like bottom 3.
Rob, they've been in the bottom 5 in motion all 3 years under Sirianni.
So now get used to seeing a little bit more guys move. Like I was watching some plays, Josh, and it was Kellen Moore offensive philosophy, some just and when you want to pick out the best highlights, right, you're going to see the best, you're going to see great plays. But there were somewhere like they run a little bit, two guys, different guys went in motion in various points pre-snap, and then Dak rolls out. He's got 2 completely wide open, and it was red zone play inside the 10. 2 completely wide open receivers, like absolutely 2 guys that you or I could have thrown a 10-yard touchdown pass to, and he threw it to the further one, not the one at the goal line, but the one in the back of the end zone. Like, it's hard to design a play where two guys are wide open by about 15 yards. And that was just one particular play that I got to see, that I'm watching some of Kellen Moore. So I'm excited to see what this offense can do. They have a ton of talent, obviously. Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, you name it. We know they got a ton of talent on this offense. And there's no reason for me to think that Kellen Moore can't maximize these guys, their ability.
What's interesting is that you mentioned Jalen Hurts, and I got to ask you about the Cam Newton comments. And for those who didn't see it, the kind of conversations that happen when there's nothing else going on, that get amplified because nothing else is going on. Former league MVP Cam Newton was having a conversation about Dak Prescott. And, I get it, Rob. The stats for Dak are pretty good over the last 5 years. He's been doing really well, especially the last 50 games. But am I really supposed to believe that just because Dak has almost the same exact touchdowns as Patrick Mahomes the last 50 games, that I'm automatically going to say, yeah, give me Dak Prescott over Jalen Hurts?
I can understand the argument from Cam Newton's side, wanting to make like we're not talking about two guys who are far and away completely distanced from each other. They're really close. My personal preference, if I had to win a football game tomorrow, I'm lining up with Jalen Hurts. If I got to win a game tonight, I'm lining up with Jalen Hurts. Why? He's done it. He's won in the playoffs. Dak hasn't. Jalen's been there. He got to the Super Bowl, and minus that one play where he fumbled, and yeah, that was a costly mistake. He had a tremendous game in that Super Bowl. So I would trust Jalen Hurts in a big game more than Dak. And I think Jalen's run ability, his ability to be a weapon with his legs, is kind of the difference maker between him and Dak. So if you have them right there neck and neck, I'm taking Jalen, because I just think he's a winner. He's won when it counts. And he's a guy who can really make defenses have to be – that can run, that can take off and get some yards, make some plays. But Jalen is an elite runner with the football, and he's come a long way as a passing quarterback, whether it's in the pocket, whether it's making reads, escaping and still throwing on the run. He's come a long way. Yeah, I mean, you might want to give Dak a slight edge there, but overall, totality, quarterback position, I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts. I can understand Cam making that. Cam says a lot of stuff, man. I'm guessing it was on his podcast, and that's what he does now. He says a lot of stuff, and he generates a lot of headlines, and he's Cam Newton. And he also said something about, what was it, Lamar Jackson and Mike Vick being better runners than him. Well, duh, right? That was recent. He was a more powerful runner. Those guys were right. That one, he hit that one on the head. So I don't agree with everything he says. Some things he says are right on. Some things he says are far-fetched. This one, I can understand him trying to make a case for Dak, but I'm going to go Jalen over Dak in a big game. And that could change. That could change over the course of this season. Jalen's got to prove a lot to a lot of people, because he was part of why that team came apart last year. And he certainly didn't live up to the expectations after signing that contract, after being the runner-up to MVP in 2022. He did not have a rebound. He didn't have a 2023 season where he took a step forward. He took a step back. And there were a lot of people expecting that. I wasn't one of them. So I was a little bit disappointed. But I anticipate a rebound here in 24, and we'll see what happens. He's got another offensive coordinator he's got to work with. So maybe it's a little bit different early in the season, but I think Jalen's got it in him.
We're talking with Associated Press senior NFL writer Rob Maaddi here on 97.3 ESPN, at Rob Maaddi on the Twitter X platform. And, the other thing with the Cam Newton comments is, and this is kind of like a side pet peeve I have. And, I can say this to someone like you, Rob, because you understand when I say this, where I'm coming from, because you've been in this business a while, and you've also covered a lot of athletes. This new age casts is the most exasperating thing in the world, because these guys like the Kelseys and Newton and Chris Long and Micah Parsons and Von Miller, like all these guys got podcasts. They all have the worst producers in the world. They really do. Like, no one, like, for example, I had to do the research myself. So I compared Prescott and Hurts last 50 starts, right? Because everyone keeps talking about Hurts. What is Prescott's last 50 starts? Well, Prescott is throwing the ball 269 more times than Jalen Hurts in the last 50 starts. So don't you think that if you throw the ball 269 more times, you might have more passing touchdowns?
More touchdowns, more completions, more
yards.
It's just it's common sense, and you're right. They need a Josh Hennig to be producing their podcast, but facts do not get in the way of hot takes, Josh. We've seen that. It's people have made careers out of it. Facts never get in the way, and people eat it up, and then it becomes the headline or the aggregators on Twitter are putting it out there and getting thousands of hits and views and getting paid from Elon Musk. And it's a great deal, and it's a great business for him.
It's a great deal if you can get it, right? You know, that's kind of how it works. Also with the Eagles, I got to ask you, because I think that the Hard Knocks is exposing the Giants so bad right now. I mean, for people like us, we love the access. We love the insight. But I got to tell you, the fact that the Giants didn't think that other teams would be interested in picking him up, the fact that the Giants told Saquon, why don't you go out and find the market and then come and tell us what the market is? And then Joe Shane saying, can you please promise me that you're going to come back and talk to us? Like, Rob, it reminded me of a high school kid who's trying to ask a girl on a date. Says, maybe if you have time when you're done with homework and mommy lets you out at night, could you maybe please go have ice cream with me? Like, that's how Joe Shane sounded talking. And even Saquon was like, wait, huh? What? Like, the way the Giants handled that, it looks so bad, Rob.
That's extremely short-sighted for this team to not think that anyone else would be interested, or the Eagles or whoever it may be. Like, you have to go into, and I saw the clip where John Mara, the owner, like, he was really reluctant to let him go, right? He wanted to keep Saquon. He understands. Like, he had to be kind of convinced to not. And for the other, for Shane and for this team and management to not have that like, you got to go in when you have a stud like that, a top player, an elite player, you have to be prepared for everything. And they come across as really short-sighted, as a team that wasn't prepared, as a team that's not doing the best job top down, and they're getting exposed for it. And I wonder how they're feeling right now, seeing those clips out there. See, they signed up for it, they agreed to do it, but seeing some of that, it really makes them look poorly. And certainly the New York fan base and the New York media is going to have a whole lot of fun and have a field day with that.
I just also understand, you mentioned John Mara. Like, this is the franchise of George Young, Bill Parcells, Tom Coughlin. Not one, not two, not three, 4 Super Bowl championships. Jim Fossil got there with Kerry Collins and nobody, basically, back in 2000, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, this franchise has a history of great players and great organizational structure. It's like, what happened, Rob? How did they go from all of that to this?
First, they gave Daniel Jones $40 million. Like, let's just start there, right? I mean, they gave Daniel freaking Jones $40 million last year. Yeah. And he's about as mediocre as you can get as a quarterback in the NFL. And now for the expectation is you lose Saquon Barkley, and you get Devin Singletary. There's a drop-off. But you're going to expect a whole lot more, the hope is you get a whole lot more out of Daniel Jones, and I don't know how you're counting on him. I certainly couldn't be counting on him at this point. So for an organization that puts that much money into and invest that much into a guy who's that average, they're getting what they deserve right now, and I don't anticipate the Giants being anywhere near the Eagles, Cowboys, and I wonder about the Commanders taking a little bit of a step forward too in the NFC East. So I think the top two teams are certainly separated themselves from the bottom two, and the Giants deserve to be down there.
Well, you kind of led me into my next question for you, Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press, because the new head coach of the Commanders is Dan Quinn, the former defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. And the Cowboys owner, Jerry Jones, said, we're all in. Well, apparently the only thing they're all in for is losing starters from last year's team and not knowing how to replace them. So I got to ask you, Rob, is Mike Zimmer going to be enough to help this Cowboys team this year? Because really, he's the only name of consequence that was added this offseason.
Shohei just struck out with the bases loaded. Sorry, Josh. Big pitch out of Aaron Nola. Huge after he got squeezed a little bit earlier. Yeah, Mike Zimmer is, to me, he's an upgrade over Dan Quinn, because Dan Quinn, even though his defense last year was 5th in points, 5th in yards, what did they do against Jordan Love and the Packers? 48 points, big game in the playoffs. Couldn't stop them there. Earlier in the season, I think the Niners hung 42 on them. Eagles moved the ball well enough to win on them on a Sunday night game. Like big time, prime time, spotlight games, and Dan Quinn's defense failed. So you bring in Mike Zimmer, a guy who's familiar, obviously, with the Cowboys in Dallas. He was there. He was like there so long. I think he survived 5 different coaches when he was an assistant before he got his opportunity with Minnesota. Like, you have to be a really well-respected, good coach to survive different regimes, Josh. You know what I mean? Like, when I think it might have been Parcells, and like he went through all of those guys. And in order to be able to do that, you're a good coach. Eventually, he's defensive coordinator, and he comes in and he's going to emphasize hard-nosed, tough football, stopping the run. He's going to make it a little bit more confusing for offenses when they face Dallas's defense. Like, he likes to disguise and fake blitzes, so he does a lot of that. But I think it's certainly going to be a major upgrade, because they didn't do anything else. They're going to get some young guys back. One of the linebackers from last year, they're going to get him back healthy. So that's going to be huge. But they were really, talk about the Giants being short-sighted. The Cowboys' strategy going into the offseason, thinking, or Jerry talking about being all in, not knowing how far against the cap. Come on, man. How are you so out of touch that you don't realize you can't do anything? You can't do anything but lose 3 offensive linemen? They lost the center. They lost the left tackle. At least 3 offense. Like they lost one guy after another. Now they got to pay Dak. They got to pay Micah. From an Eagles perspective, it was a tremendous offseason. The Eagles got better. The Cowboys took major steps backward. And it's about going out there and executing, and going out there and getting the job done. I don't think the Cowboys are going to fall from division winner to out of the wild card, but hey, they alternate every year since 2004, 2005. So it's the Eagles' year now, because it's got to be another winner. So that was the only reason last year I picked the Cowboys to win the division. And that's going to be one of the reasons why I picked the Eagles to win. I already can tell you that. I'm picking the Eagles to win the NFC East. I might have them going to the Super Bowl. I'm not there yet. I got to figure that out, because I got to do my preseason picks and all that stuff. But I certainly got them winning the NFC East, because I wasn't impressed at all with what the Cowboys did. I think they're going to have some issues.
Well, what you might be impressed with, Rob, is your memory, because I went and looked up Mike Zimmer's coaching history while you were talking, just to see. So here is the list of Cowboys head coaches he survived. Okay.
Was it 4? Was it? Yeah.
So he was with Barry Switzer as the defensive backs coach. Then he had Shane Gailey. Then he was the defensive coordinator for Dave Campo and for Bill Parcells. But his first job with the Cowboys was with Jimmy Johnson as a defensive assistant / nickel back specialist. He was a nickel coach for the Cowboys under Jimmy Johnson. So it was actually 5.
Shoot. Wow. Like, you got to be a good coach to stick through one regime after another, because eventually
either that you have great blackmail.
This is true. I mean, I know Jerry makes a lot of the decisions there. So if he's in tight with Jerry and Jerry says, I don't care, you're keeping this guy around. And Zimmer stuck around, had some success as a head coach too as well. So I just think for the Cowboys, that move, bringing him in as the defensive coordinator, I personally wanted to see Ron Rivera. I like Ron Rivera and wanted to see more of Rivera, keeping him in the NFL another year. And I think eventually he'll get back in there, just from a personality standpoint. Zimmer's a quieter guy, like from wanting to talk to these guys, right? But I don't think they went wrong with going Zimmer over Ron Rivera. And I think at least their defense will be improved. I just don't know how they're going to make up for a lot of their losses on offense. Maybe Zeke can come back and find that a lost step that hasn't been there in 3 years.
Yeah, Zeke needs to find the fountain of youth if he's expecting to do that.
Certainly.
Rob, before I let you go, because you said you are watching the Phillies game, if I can just throw a classic Phillies sports talk radio question at you. So if the Phillies right now, the first team to 60 wins in Major League Baseball, they are the second fastest Phillies team all time to 60 wins. Okay, this is the first time a Phillies team has won 14 straight home series at Citizens Bank Park or any Phillies stadium since the 93 Phillies. Are we getting into one of the greatest Phillies teams of all time conversation?
They got to win it all. But if they do, they may be the greatest Phillies team of all time, just because, like from a wins perspective, they won it all in 80 and 08. And what were they at 92 and 90? They were in that 90 to 92 win range in 80 and 08. And it came down to the wire both times, winning. I remember in 80 when they clinched the division on a rainy night at Olympic Stadium in Montreal, and Schmitty hits a 3-run home run, I think it was, off Stan Bonson, and Andy Musser's yelling in the background.
What a great name.
Buried it. Like, yeah, I remember that. And they're cruising, like, are they 9 games up? 8.5, 9 game. I was 9 games up on the Braves going into tonight. Marsh just went yard, so they're up 2-0 now. They got a chance to sweep the Dodgers. This team barring, and they've had significant injuries. Bryce was out, Schwarber was out, JT's out, and I'm worried a little bit about Zach Wheeler right now. I know I'm glad it's a back. It's not an elbow or a shoulder, but the rotation is solid, as good as it gets. The bullpen's been better than I thought it would be, and they find ways to step up without some of their best hitters. If they break the 102, which they won in the 2011 season, the year of the 4 aces. 102 and then lost. Like, if they win the World Series, this is the best Phillies team of all time. Even though they may not have the same level of Hall of Famers like Schmidt and Carlton and Rose in 80, or I don't know who's going to make the Hall of Fame out of the 08 team, but I think Jimmy should. I think Chase should. And unfortunately, Howard won't, but he had a 6-year span where his numbers were phenomenal and they were Hall of Fame numbers. So, I certainly think so. I think if they win it all, though, Josh, and they got to get there, man.
I mean, I would say from this team, it's obviously Harper. Harper's the Hall of Famer. Turner depends on if he keeps up this level of production. You know what I mean? Like, if he finished his career with a 300 batting average and close to 3,000 hits, he's probably in that conversation, right?
Yeah, and if Nola continues to be consistent, Wheeler probably got too late of a start in his career.
Yeah.
I don't know if he can get there, but if Nola continues to, he just only got his 100th win. Like, at some point, Hall of Fame voters, and myself included, are going to have to look at numbers differently, right? That there's nobody going to get 300 wins anymore. 200 wins is going to be tough to get, but maybe JT, if he has 3-4 more years, has a chance down the road. But certainly right now, it's only Bryce. But put it together, put them all together, and this has a possibility to be that best team of all time, which is really crazy to say, but and fun to watch, man. And I love the Sunday games or the weekend games with Schmidt, because I'm that old school where I want to hear Schmitty.
See, I love Kruk. So I'm a big Kruk guy. So
yeah, and he's fun and he's always good. He's good to have. So I
love when it was Monday night when Enrique Hernandez came into the game and he lost a handle of the pitch and threw it over his head. And Kruk is like, all right, go rush the mound now. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, he was having flashbacks to the All-Star game with Randy Johnson. At that point, right? When he wanted no parts.
Slower.
Yeah, a little bit. Sometimes Kruk gives me the feeling like Kruk to me sometimes sounds like a guy who just wants to get the heck out of the booth and out of the stadium and out of the game. Like, let's get this over with. I want to go eat.
Right.
And now that the games are 2 hours and 10 minutes, it happens a whole lot quicker. Like now I get to, sometimes I'm going to the gym after the Phillies game, and I would have never thought that years ago, because it's like 10:30. Now it's like, 8:15. All right, time to go to the gym.
Oh, you're a night gym guy like me.
I bounce around, man. Bounce around. Depends on the day, on the schedule. But got it in today before in Nola facing the Dodgers. I wasn't going to miss that.
But really quick, what do you think the line of demarcation is for power hitters when it comes to home runs now?
Man, is it back down to 30?
No, I mean like if you're voting for a guy and you see they hit a certain,
where 500 used to be automatically in, and now 500 because of the steroid era. You're seeing guys who have 500, not like Sheffield didn't get in. Maaddi obviously is not in. We know about Bonds. We know about Palmeiro. Like I still look at the power numbers. I'm still looking at 500. You gotta put them in.
Because I'm looking at Kyle Schwarber's projections right now. I can see him getting 400. I don't know if he gets 500.
What do you think Bryce gets to? Schwarber can get to 4. Yeah. Where's Schwarber at now?
Well, he's at 264.
Yeah, he can get to 4. Okay, he can get to 4. How about Bryce? Bryce is at what?
Harper's at 326. So he's probably closer to getting to 5.
Yeah, he's got to get 5 because.
But he's got the MVPs. He's got the MVPs.
He's in. He's in. He can, like, to me, Bryce can have a World Series, but I think Bryce retires tomorrow, God forbid, right? He played enough and was impactful enough to where, was he the best player or one of the top 5 at his position for a decade? Yeah, already. You could say that. So he's in, but he's got a shot at. He'll get the 5. Schwarber can get the 4. Schwarber can. There could be a case made for Schwarber when all's said and done.
And like I said, the only other guy to me is Trey Turner. So Turner's at 1280 on the hits right now. So if I'm looking at the projections on Baseball Reference, I'm assuming it's like 2600. It looks like.
Yeah, he's got a shot. He's certainly got a shot. And Turner, JT, yeah, and well, how about that Ranger Suarez? He's got to do this for another decade, but
it's a little early in the process.
But that's what's so impressive about this team is that, like, here we are, we're going, all right, Bryce is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Maybe Schwarber has a shot. Maybe Trey Turner has a shot. Maybe Aaron Nola if he continues consistently. And yet they may set a record for most wins in a regular season in franchise history, and are far and away right now the best team in baseball and have a shot to win it all. That's what makes it even more impressive about what they're doing, is that they don't have like those 3, that even the team that won the 102, they had Halladay. He was a Hall of Famer.
Right.
Cliff Lee, Cole Hamels didn't do enough to get there. Roy Oswalt, but Another hit for Trey Turner right there. Or maybe it's an error. Everything's a hit nowadays, right, Josh? They don't score. They're really charitable with the scoring around Major League Baseball. It's like
Rob,
everything's, yeah.
I'm so glad you said that. I literally had this conversation with a buddy of mine over the weekend. I sound like the old man get off my lawn guy. I was like, that's an error. I'm like, that's not a hit. You're like, for example, like I literally like got up. I was at a brewery and I started doing a demonstration in the middle of the game. Like, because like you remember when you were younger, when you played sports, like we all went through the period, but like you were taught the fundamentals when you played sports, right? So it was like when you field the ball, you are supposed to point your shoulder in the direction that you're throwing the ball if you're a fielder. So like wherever you point your shoulder, and the idea was that the same thing with golf, like you're supposed to place your chin on your shoulder in order for you to get it in the right path. Same thing with hitting. You put your chin on your shoulder, it keeps your head in the direction it's supposed to go. Like the fundamentals of the game, these guys don't do it anymore. So to me, it's an error. If you have a throwing error, that's on you. That's not, oh, well, the ball was hit kind of hard, or maybe it was a little out of range, or no, it's an error, man.
I don't know at what point it was in the past 2 or 3 years where it just became a whole lot more charitable. Now, I'll take it because this was Trey Turner, and I want him to hit 350. And the third baseman, he had a dive, so he dove for the ball. He gloved it, but couldn't come up clean with it. So, and Trey's fast, so that's a hit. But yeah, I've just seen a whole lot. Fundamentals have been like poor for several years now. Like guys don't know how. They don't know how to sacrifice bunt anymore. When I see somebody square around, like, first of all, you shouldn't even square around. Like you stay. If we're going to do this, right, we're going to demonstrate. You stay and you pivot so you can go up or down. Like I can give a clinic on the art of sacrifice bunt. And then when you pivot, you can also bring the bat back and swing like nobody does. There's never the fake sacrifice, pull the bat back and hit it down the third baseman's throat, man. I'm going back to my college days, like remembering how we used to practice that, but it's a mess. Nobody knows how to do much anymore fundamentally. And baseball still, I'm still watching it. I don't care. Throw was on in the background. no matter how they change my sport, all the stupid softball rules with the runner on second base in the 10th inning and the speeding this up. Like I want the game to go 4 hours, Josh. I love having it on in the background all night long. When the Phillies are done, I'm putting Yankees on. I'm putting whoever, Red Sox on. I love just having old school stadiums, Wrigley Field on. This week it's watching the D-backs and the Braves late at night, and just keep playing, man. Keep playing.
Rob Maaddi, now you know why, folks. He is a Baseball Hall of Fame voter because he cares that much about the game. But he also covers the NFL for the Associated Press.
Go figure. I love it.
Rob, I appreciate the time. Obviously, extended conversation, but we got carried away. It's all good. So
it's great, man. You keep me talking baseball, I'll never get off. So thanks, Josh. I appreciate you, buddy. Have a good weekend.
You too. Take care of yourself. Rob Maaddi joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Yeah, elongated conversation with Rob. We hit on a lot of different topics there. That was a highlight. We just took the whole segment sideways, all because we were talking about the Phillies, basically. By the way, the Phillies do lead 2-0 in the game. Trey Turner hit a home run. Brandon Marsh hit a home run. And they already had the pitching coach out on the mound talking to these guys like, hey, what are you guys doing? You guys okay out here? Everything good? By the way, it's retro night for the Phillies. If anybody's getting ready to turn on the game, they got Juan Samuel in the booth. The Phillies are wearing the old school baby blues. They're showing pregame graphics that date back to like the 80s and 90s style of graphics. They're showing a flashback now. Juan Samuel hit a home run off the Dodgers. Good nostalgia on a day like today. Thanks to Rob Maaddi for joining me. Good conversation with him. Always enjoy chatting football and baseball with him. I'll be back tomorrow here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN following Mike Gill and the Sports Patch. By the way, Alec Bohm, bases loaded. He is at bat. Interesting.
Monday on ESPN Radio.
Three-run homer for Pete Alonso.
The 2024 Major League Baseball Home Run Derby.
Ozuna does it again. A massive shot for Gunnar Henderson.
Boom is a swing and a line drive to deep left. It's gone. The 2024 Major League Baseball Home Run Derby. Coverage begins Monday at 8 Eastern.
Listen to Major League Baseball all season on 97.3 ESPN.